Hey guys, welcome back to Play With Your Food, the show where rolling a nat 20 will finally release you from your digital nightmare. Today we're exploring the realm of Dungeons and Dragons and taking a look at the Adventure Zone podcast, a show concocted by the McElroy family that takes us through crystal kingdoms, secret lunar bases, and dusty western towns. But it's not all magic and monsters. For today's episode, we'll be following the instructions of High Elf Wizard / Chef Taako in the creation of the perfect breakfast, 30 garlic clove chicken, and a very special nightcap. If this all sounds insane to you, then check out the Adventure Zone here. But for now, let's sizzle it up. The perfect breakfast starts with French toast. It also starts at night, so grab yourself a sturdy loaf of bread and cut as many pieces as necessary. This recipe covers about 8 slices. I find that cutting from the bottom keeps the bread from getting crushed, but however you want to cut it is fine. Lay it out flat on a cooling rack and let it rest overnight. Stale bread holds custard far better and won't fall apart on you, so don't skip this step. To make your custard, mix 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of cream, add 4 eggs to your mixing bowl before realizing this isn't going to work, transfer to a larger bowl and adding 2 more eggs, 6 total. Next, add a pinch of salt and about 2 tablespoons of warm honey and mix well to combine. Put a plate on top of your bowl and let it rest overnight in the fridge. Good morning, let's make toast. Pour your custard into a wide tray and let your now stale bread soak for about 30 seconds before flipping it over and doing the same on the other side. Once soaked, let it rest on a wire rack for about a minute. Once it's rested, add some butter to a medium heat pan and sizzle that custard bread. It should only take a minute or 2 per side, so keep an eye on it and flip once it's golden. Once it's done, move it to a baking rack and repeat for as many pieces as you need before moving them all to a 180-degree oven for about 5 minutes. While they set, let's work on some bacon. Lay your bacon down in a hot pan and add enough water to cover it. Once the water comes to a boil, reduce the heat to medium-low and wait for the bacon to crisp up. The third aspect of our breakfast is going to come in the form of pancakes. In this case, soufflé pancakes that rise and wobble as if by magic. We'll start with the quote-unquote cake base, so separate 1 egg into a bowl and reserve the white for later. Whisk the yolk with a teaspoon of white sugar until pale before mixing 2 tablespoons of milk and 1 of vegetable oil together and slowly incorporating into the batter. I like to do this in 3 equal parts, mixing in between to keep it all together. Once that's done, sift 3 tablespoons of plain flour and 1/3 of a teaspoon of baking powder into the bowl and whisk together until you get a fairly sticky batter. You want the flour to be completely incorporated before adding a pinch of salt. Next, add a second egg white to your first in the second bowl before realizing you don't have a PowerPoint nearby. Beat on high until foamy, and then add 2 tablespoons of sugar, beating again until glossy, stiff peaks form. This means no drooping. Add 1/3 of this to your batter and mix gently with a whisk to aerate it. Add another 1/3 of your meringue and do the same. For the final third, you want to gently fold it in with a spatula, making sure not to deflate it. Add about a teaspoon of vegetable oil to a pan on low heat and wipe it out with a paper towel. This keeps your pancakes from getting spotty and overcooking in some parts. Add 1/3 of the batter to your pan and cover it with a pot or bowl, flipping after about 3 minutes. Finally, we move on to eggs. In the pan, with butter, don't stir them beforehand, you lunatics. Over a low heat, add a knob of butter and 3 eggs to a saucepan, and personally I like adding a bit of Danish feta, but I'll leave that up to you. You want to keep your eggs moving non-stop over a low heat until they start to come together. This stops large curds from forming and makes the eggs so damn smooth it's bananas. Remove from the heat before completely done and start plating up. Now we've doubled up on carbs, hit the classic bacon and eggs, and frankly, getting everything done at anywhere near the same time was an absolute nightmare, so we may as well enjoy it. Cover the whole damn thing with powdered sugar and maple syrup, and what's that in the corner? Oh, that's right, it's a mimosa. Now this is an obscene amount of food for one person, so I'll be bringing in help in the form of Daniel. Dan, do you have anything to say about this? No? We didn't record anything from Dan. We tackled breakfast, now let's focus on dinner. Specifically, Taako's famous 30 garlic clove chicken. Unsurprisingly, this uses a lot of garlic, so if you've got a crusher, I highly recommend you use it. I'm starting by combining diced garlic with unsalted butter, then using the back end of a spoon to separate the skin from the meat of a whole chicken. Once that's separated, put the butter beneath the skin and start massaging it out. The idea here is to get an even layer beneath the skin, to keep the chicken moist and give it extra garlic flavor. This is a fairly messy job, so feel free to use some gloves. Once that's done, prick some holes in a lemon, and there's no kind way to say this. Stick it in the chicken's cavity. Sorry, Tiger. If you've got twine, cross the legs over the back and tie them up to keep it in. Now for the star of the recipe, handfuls of garlic. Separate out 30 cloves and mercifully feel free to leave the skin on. We'll sort that out later on. Once you've successfully watered your home from vampires, set a pot on low heat and add 2 cups of chicken stock and about 350 ml of white wine. 400 mils of white wine. Toss in all of your garlic, add a few sprigs of thyme, and lay your chicken on top. Yes, it was already in there, and we all saw it, but we're professionals, so let's move past this by putting a lid on the pot and moving it into a 180-degree oven for about an hour. While we wait, we're going to cut up a couple of onions and carrots into large chunks, throw in a few sprigs of thyme, and rub it all in vegetable oil. After around an hour, pull your chicken out of the oven and remove it from the pot. Lay it on your carrots and onions and pour about a tablespoon of vegetable oil on top, along with a few pinches of salt and pepper, and place it back in the oven to crisp up. To finish up, we're going to make some gravy. So use a vegetable masher to crush your garlic and let it simmer for about 20 minutes. Strain out the larger chunks, making sure not to let any of it go to waste because this stuff is obscenely good. I'm going to make a pan sauce, which basically starts with sauteing white onions until they're soft. Once they soften up, add a splash of white wine to the pan, as well as about a cup of your gravy. Now, Taako's chicken uses elderberries, but I couldn't find any, so I'm using dried cranberries. Let the cranberries rehydrate in the sauce before turning off the heat and adding a knob of butter to the pan, stirring gently to incorporate. Remove your chicken once it's golden brown and break it down, starting with the breasts. Cut down along the spine, burning yourself terribly, before flaring out at the bottom and removing the whole breast. Once that's done, pull off the drumstick and repeat on the other side. If this doesn't work for you, it's fine, as long as you don't waste any of the meat. To serve, I like to slice the breast with the skin on and shred the rest, which should leave you with a plate that looks something like this. Spoon some of your pan sauce on top and enjoy the first glorious bite of your surprisingly not garlicky garlic chicken. Now we'll move on to our final creation, and one of Taako's most adventurous recipes. A whole bottle of Grey Goose. Transmute into a glass and enjoy.